Hello everybody and welcome to a brand new Elder Scrolls Online build video with me, Sherman. Today guys, I bring you something cool and awesome, the Shadow Knight. This is a solo build made for Murkmire, so if you're looking for something a little different, a little unique for the solo play side, this build might be for you. So, let's go ahead and get started. Now, along with all solo builds, you can be any race. It does not have to be an Argonian. I chose Argonian because I like the passives of the race. The healing mainly, not the potion one, but the healing. It's insane. As you can see, max magic at 12k, health 24k, stamina 29k, and then of course our magic recovery is coming in at a whopping 1011. Stam recovery 1144, really good there. Our weapon damage is 2600. We do get to about 3200 weapon damage on the build. It is really good. We have a 38% crit, 20,000 spell, 19,000 physical, and we are running the Lady Mundus Stone for that extra spell and physical resistance. We are using Dubious Cameron Throne with this. We do have Major Savagery at all times, increasing our critical chance. You can be a werewolf, apparently. Just kidding. That's because we are on PTS. Alright, so moving on to the rest of it. We are using Dubious Cameron Throne. This is literally the best food you can use for this build because you do get max stam and max health. Really good. We are using the power pots for this because it will give us increased weapon damage. So, moving on to the gear. As you guys can see, we are using Thorvikins. Thorvikins is a really good set for this setup. It does give you some minor maim, minor defile. It also does a little bit of disease damage and it increases your max health. It is great for this. Next set we're using, there's two options here. There's Hunting's Rage or Night Mother's Gaze. Night Mother's Gaze is a little bit better, but I like Hunting's for the increased weapon damage. Very nice. So, as you can see, 2 and 4 piece crit, 3 piece stam, and then weapon damage. And then if you go down here to the jewelry setup is really cool because we are using Witchmans on this build. This is awesome on this build because it gives extra resources back, health and stamina when you use an ultimate. We are using Dawnbreaker a lot, so it's really good for that. Gives us some stam recovery, gives us some weapon damage, and some max health. Overall, really good set. It is a medium armor set, so that's why I chose the jewelry on it. So going over the traits, we are using a two-handed, by the way, infused, and an infused bow. So going over the traits really quick, we are using 3 infused on the chest with tri-stats. On the gear itself, we are running a medium helm, heavy shoulders, light belt, and the rest is heavy. So on the smaller pieces, we are running stam, max stamina, except for the belt. I made it a CP 150, so technically I should be at 20 or 30k almost stamina with this build, but I don't have that there. I screwed up on making the belt. So, but that's okay. It's fine. It still works. So going over this down here, the weapon or the traits on the jewelry: 2 weapon damage, 1 recovery on an infused necklace. These are both robust extra stam guys. And then moving on to the weapon itself, it is infused with poison damage and then infused with weapon damage. Very powerful setup here. Oh, they must have started the fight and left. Oh, that's so sad. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and jump into the skills. Starting with passives, go get all your class passives on this build. It's very important you get all the class passives for this build. Moving on to weapon skills. You're going to want to get all your two-handed passives and your bow passives. Armor, light armor, top 3, medium armor, top 2, bottom 1, and then heavy armor, all of them. You want all these passives, trust me on this. Soul magic, always take soul summons and soul lock. These are very important when solo playing. And then onto the Fighters Guild, you want all the Fighters Guild passives because you are using Flawless Dawnbreaker and Evil Hunter on your bar. Mages Guild just need Persuasive Will, and onto the Undaunted, both of the Undaunted passives. Racial skills, Argonian, get all the passives. It doesn't matter, all racial passives are important. Medicinal use on Alchemy, and in Provisioning, Gourmand, and Connoisseur. Very important to take these ones. Alright, now let's go over the skills while we can. Starting with the first skill on your bar, you guys should pretty much know this. It is going to be Brawler. Brawler is awesome. Lots of damage, does damage up front, does a little bit of damage over time, and then what I mean by lots of damage, this thing hits multiple targets. So it's good cleave, great damage ability. But on top of that, you gain a damage shield that absorbs 2,382 damage for 8 seconds. Each enemy hit increases the damage shield strength by 100%. Lots of greatness there. Moving on to the next skill on our bar, we do use Surprise Attack. This does apply Major Fracture. It does a lot of damage. If you are using the Night Mother's Gaze, do not use this skill. Change this skill out for the... you can change it out for Uppercut or Wrecking Blow, if you will. Or you can go with the class ability Assassin's Blade and Killer's Blade there. It's really good. Or you can also go with the Psijic Order skill line, Crushing Weapon. Any one of these is really good. Crushing Weapon would be great because it does give you a damage shield when you block. And then just put whatever skill you take on the front and move this one over. Next skill on our bar is Spiked Bone Shield. Very, very, very good shield. I can't say this enough. So it gives you a shield strength based on 30% of your max health, but because we have points in the Bastion, it goes up to 34% of our max health for 6 seconds, and then returns 41, look at that, 41% of your direct damage absorbed back to the enemy. And it's a synergy if you're playing in a group. Next on our bar is our Uber Heal, guys. Dark Cloak. Cloak yourself in a shadow to heal for 32% of your max health over 3.5 seconds and gain minor protection, reducing your damage taken by 8%. It does heal you, but it also activates your buff for your resistances. That's why we're using heavy armor. We get Shadow Barrier, which gives us Major Ward, Major Resolve. As you can see, it lasts for 13.5 seconds. It's really good. You're going to be bopping this thing like crazy anyway, so don't worry. And then next but not least, Evil Hunter. We have this here just for Major Savagery. That's it. Because you don't want to be casting or popping pots for a bunch of stuff a lot of the times. It's okay if you want to drop this and go for other things, but the less skills you're activating, the more resource management you get. So this just is there to stop you from having more skills to burn through resources. Next on our bar is Flawless Dawnbreaker. This gives us extra weapon damage. It does a lot of damage over time, like up front, and damage over time. It is by far one of the best ultimates in the game for clearing everything. Moving on to the back bar, where we have our Venom Arrow. This does decent damage up front and over time, and it has a chance of setting enemies off balance and interrupting them and stunning them if they're casting. Moving on to the next ability in our bar, Endless Hail. This does an AoE damage. We all know this. It's very good. And then we have Leeching Strikes. This is really important to have, guys, because now in this new update, your heavy attacks heal and restore twice as much as what they once did, and you do a lot of heavy attacks, so really good. And when the effect ends, you get 4,270 additional damage back when it ends, or if you cast it a little early, you get a chunk of it. Next on our bar is Mirage. We have this here for the Minor Ward, Minor Resolve, and Major Evasion. So Major Evasion reduces damage from area of effect attacks by 25%, and your physical and spell resistance are increased by 1320 for 26 seconds. In this fight, you guys will see here in a minute, it's not a second, a minute or two, you'll see why this is so good. Next up, we have Evil Hunter. This, again, crit, and for not spamming too many abilities to burn through resources. Last but not least on our bar is Bolstering Darkness. We have this here because it gives us major protection. Even if we move out of the circle, we maintain that major protection. It does last for 17 seconds, so try to stay in it as much as possible if you do use it, and it is a nice synergy if you're playing with other people. So that is the skills. Now we're going to jump through the CP as quickly as we can, starting with the red CP. We have 66 into Ironclad. This reduces damage taken from direct damage attacks by 22%. 2 into Spell Shield. You could put it into Medium Armor Focus. It's up to you, but I just put it here. Moving on over here, we have 31 into Thick Skin. This reduces your damage taken from damage over time effects by 13%. 56 into Hardy, reducing physical poison disease damage by 12%, and then 56 in an Elemental Defender, reducing Flame, Frost, Shock, and Magic damage by 12%. Moving on, we have 40 into Bastion. This increases the effectiveness of your damage shields by 16%, and then 19 into Quick Recovery, increasing your healing received by 5%. Whew. Green Tree time. 56 into Warlord, reducing break free cost by 20%. 23 into Sprinter, reducing our sprint cost by 14%. We are in heavy armor, so you do need a little bit more. 23 into Bashing Focus, reducing our bash cost by 14%. And then moving on to the middle tree here, 43 into Arcanus, increasing magic recovery by 10%. 43 into Tenacity, increasing the return of stamina from our fully charged heavy attacks by 10%, because we're only using stamina weapons. Moving on over here, 56 into Tumbling, reducing dodge roll cost by 20%, and 26 into Shadow Ward, reducing our block cost by 11%. We do block attacks, by the way. Moving on to the middle, or the first blue tree, we have 43 into Blessed, increasing our healing done by 15%, and then moving on over here, 16 into Physical Weapon Expert, increasing our two-handed, light, and heavy attack damage, and our bows. You know, like all melee weapons. It's pretty cool. So 10% there, and then 56 into Master at Arms, increasing our damage done with direct damage by 20%. We do a lot of direct damage. Moving on over here, 56 into Mighty, increasing our physical poison disease damage by 12%. 56 into Precise Strikes, increasing critical healing and stamina of your stamina ability, critical healing, critical damage by 20%. And then 40 into Thaumaturge, increasing your damage done with damage over time effects by 16%. We do have 3 into Piercing. Alright, now that I've done that, let's go ahead and see this in action. Starting with our buff, we always want to keep Mirage up as best you can. Also, Leeching Strikes. Going in with the normal setup here. Don't have to worry too much about healing right away. And it's kind of cool because you can spam this to kill things a little bit quicker. And that Thaumaturge really helps at clearing trash, by the way. Not as many enemies as this time around, as usual. This thing's just a beast, because that minor maim really helps with the shield strength, because it just allows you to keep your shields up a lot longer. And I haven't even used a power pot, but we're going to go ahead and do that just so we can get the extra weapon damage in there. Go ahead and hit this boss real quick, and you guys can see for yourselves. A little delayed there on his return of attacks. The thing that's nice about this, like I said, because he does do an AoE on the ground, that 25% damage reduction, even if you lose your shield, it does help. But and if he gets both of them down, that's where things get a little tricky. But there you guys go. I have soloed this boss. You guys want to see? Yes, I have soloed him. Soloed him many a times with a lot of builds. But yeah, it's pretty good boss to show like the effectiveness of how well this build can work, because of it's just so powerful at surviving. Like, that's the whole point about solo, is you want to have good survivability, you want to have good playability. You want the build to be able to take on a lot of different things, and this just shows how well some of these builds you can make with these new changes in Murkmire to shields. They're really good. The shield change is really good. But yeah, that is the Shadow Knight. I love this build. I love this build. It's so awesome. I'm actually going to make my Argonian Nightblade this. This is what I'm going for. It just blows my mind at how well this works out. So, and like I said, because you have Witchmans, you have no resource issues whatsoever. You get health, you get stamina back whenever you drop Dawnbreaker. It's crazy. It's a crazy setup, and I love it. Yeah, and before you ask, does this work in PvP? Yes, this thing is a beast in PvP. But drop Bone Shield because you won't need it, and go with something maybe a little bit more damage of some kind. And then you can even leave Evil Hunter here, guys, even in PvP. Like, this build just works really good either way. On Endless Hail, just swap it out if you're going to go PvP with this build with Arrow Spray, and change your armor to have 3 well-fitted on the big pieces, and on the smaller pieces, go with the Impregnable, or the one that reduces, gives you crit resist, and that's all you'll need, really. Because you'll still have really good resistances in PvP. This build's just disgusting. So, but that's pretty much it. So if you guys like the Shadow Knight, like button. If you guys want to see more builds by me or other things by me, you can hit that subscribe button. Other than that, I want to thank you all for watching. Until next time, have a wonderful day. And this guy might see you in game. Bye.